of the UPC.
All protocols observed. I am speaking here not only on behalf of Uganda People's Congress, but also the family of the late Milton Obote. My mother wanted to attend the burial in Bondo, but as family, we thought it would be too hectic with her age and the rest. But I've seen my good brother, Captain Mike, here. Maybe we can make an arrangement that she can go and visit and pay her personal respects at an appropriate time. I am here really to give thanks to God for the life of Raila and the inspiration he gave to all of us who believe in democracy. But as I stand here, I am in deep pain of what has transpired in the Ugandan politics. I wish my Archbishop could hear my words, because he has on his hands two of his parishioners who have disagreed. One is accusing the other of lying, but I know the truth. And the truth is Christ, and Christ will always be the truth. The truth will eventually catch up to us. And to borrow a phrase which my young brother Daudi likes saying, we must appreciate and understand, that we must have the same nervous system, the central nervous system, as Uganda. In this election, UPC wanted to bring a message of hope to the people of Uganda. The students who are struggling, it will not work. We struggle. I watch parents struggling to educate their children to get an opportunity in this Uganda. UPC represented a method whereby we could tap into and develop the talent which Uganda had. We need to do so for the future. Archbishop was preaching about people eating. But there are those who go to hospital and there's no ability or no tools to save people's lives. That shouldn't be in Uganda. Right now we have our teachers crying for justice. Jimmy Akena wants to be saying this on the campaign trail. But those represented here by the Right Honorable Prime Minister are either scared or being unrealistic. But Raila represented. What would Raila do? If I ask myself, what would Raila do in this circumstance? He will not go quiet. He will not be silent. He will mobilize the people to be heard. And Ugandans need to be heard. So to honor a great son of Africa in the name of Raila, we cannot be quiet when there's injustice. We cannot be quiet when things are going wrong in our country. We must stand up and be heard. If they close one door, you look for another one. That is Raila. Raila never stayed down. Whatever setbacks, Raila never stayed down. If we're to honor Raila, we must keep fighting and keep fighting, but keep the door open. When there's a chance to talk, you talk. You sit on the table, you talk. When you disagree, you still disagree, but you disagree in an agreeable manner. That is democracy. And that is what I think, as Uganda People's Congress and as Africa, we owe to Raila. Let us work for the benefit of all our citizens. May God continue to bless the good works which Raila left us and raise a generation which can stand in his footprint. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you. Of Raila Odinga's life, and also now the meaning of his death. What's an enigma? An enigma is something which is difficult to understand and difficult to explain. And I think I'm not exaggerating when I say Raila Odinga. And I find it hard to say the late Raila Odinga. Forgive me. I won't say it because I don't think that is really proper for me. He was difficult to understand and difficult to explain. And maybe it will take another 50 years for him to understand. To give an idea of an enigma, sometimes the sun shines when it is raining. How do you explain that? That's what we call an enigma. Because sunshine and rain are supposed to happen at different times. The church read about tents. Now, talking about Raila is really about tents. I think in Africa we are still finding it difficult to grasp what political parties are. Political parties are really vehicles. But the question is, what do they stand for? And what do the individuals in those political parties stand for? ODM will be celebrating 2 decades. But before ODM, Raila has been in many formations, but he remained who he was. Here, some people think that a political party is an end in itself. And I think that is what this enigma is about. The other thing about Raila is compromise. Many politicians take pride in saying, I want compromise. I would call it the Okonkwo syndrome. Sometimes the world is changing, and you have to realize that it is changing. You go back to things fall apart, and you find Okonkwo who took pride in standing firm. Standing firm is okay, but the most important thing is that you should have some objectives that you should achieve. And that brings the word compromise. I have found no better definition of compromise than that by an American statesman called Henry Clay. This is what he said. It's a work of mutual concession, an agreement in which there are reciprocal stipulations, a work in which, for the sake of peace and concord, one party abates its extreme demands in consideration of an abatement of extreme demands by the other party. It's a measure of mutual concession, a measure of mutual sacrifice. Undoubtedly, in all such measures of compromise, one party would be very glad to get what he wants and reject what he does not desire, but which the other party wants. But when he comes to reflect that from the nature of government and its operations, and from those with whom he is dealing, it is necessary upon his part, in order to secure what he wants, to grant something to the other side. He should be reconciled to the concession which he has made in consequence of the concession which he is to receive. If there is no great principle involved, such as a violation of the Constitution. I think Raila Odinga exemplified that spirit of compromise. Lastly, you all know his personality. He was like a moving celebration. All around him there was electricity wherever he went. Those of you who were near Raila Odinga, there was some current flowing, and it was fun to be around. There are many anecdotes I could share. Captain Mike Mukola has captured that. He even used to mock death. In our Luo language, we would have named him Nyeroto, which means he laughs at death. You remember when he made that joke and he said, you know, if you die, no problem. You could go to heaven and be with God, or you could go to hell and meet all your friends there. Now, that kind of personality is a person who was fun to be around. And that's why we are missing him so much. But he had that other side. Those who like this mythology, you know this god called Thor, the hammer-wielding god. You know, he would wield his hammer and the whole of Kenya goes aflame. He could wield it and everything closes. He was a kind of Kenyan Thor, wielding that hammer. But more importantly, he loved freedom. Lastly, we have been asked by the church, what do we remember about him which was so inspirational? For me, given his life, the twists and turns, the treacheries he had to endure. He makes agreements, he's betrayed, including the famous one with Mwai Kibaki of NAC. They had an agreement, he was supposed to get half of the cabinet. Then they throw at him one cabinet position of Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure. But he never gave up. So the one thing that inspires me from Raila Odinga's life is he was impossible to discourage. And I think that's one thing we should all take, particularly those of us who are in politics. Sometimes we want that crown. If you want to be president, you think until you become president, then your life has not been worthwhile. Look at what, in his coffin, Raila was towering over everybody in that stadium while lying down in that coffin. That means that the efforts he made bore a lot of fruit. To Kenya, if Raila were to be a prophet, he would be Nehemiah. He was a builder. And we envy you Kenyans for the fact that you have someone like Raila to refer to. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Let me now invite my brother from the Forum for